Okay, guys, you get bored with this, you can surezies move on to the 4 problems on the assignment. Again, how many answers? There are 2, okay? Because of the x to the second power. So x has 2 answers that it could be. Now identify my method, okay? Go find an x that isn't to the second power. If you can, you have to do the set boxes. And there's the x on the 8. So set boxes. Sorry, my camera's a little blurry here tonight. And you're set because it's 0 is there. If it's not set, you'll have to set it yourself by drawing out blank x squared blank x blank equals 0, but it's set. I don't need to do that. So how many terms do we have? We have 3. All these on this assignment have 3, so you go GCF table. Okay, and then the GCF, negative x GCF. I do not need the negative because the 4 in the front's not negative. I can't do x because we got x second, x first, but 3 doesn't have x, so we don't do x. Now I go to my GCF calculator, okay? Get it up so you guys can, again, I can remind you guys how it works, okay? And 4, 8, and 3 are the big numbers that we have. So I enter 4, 8, 3. And that's 1. So if 1's all I can find without a negative or an x, I delete that box. Okay. Then I go A, B, C. None of these are fails though. Okay. And I take positive 4 times positive 3. I got 12, and 12 is positive, so I put 12 with a positive sign. So the positive tells me I need to add, and I need to add to try to get to 8, which is negative, okay? 1 and 12, that's not 8, okay? Now divide 12 by 2. That's 6, so I put 2, 6. And I add those, I get 8, so it's those 2 numbers. Now my 8's negative, so we got to sign the 6 off as a negative. And I have positive up there with 12. That means the signs have to be the same. Okay, so I got minus 6, minus 2. Now once we found them, my A is 4x to the second. So when I make my 4 parentheses, I go 4x and 4x. Don't put a second power on the x's, okay? You're breaking the x to the second up, so you have an x here and an x here. And then minus 2, minus 6, okay? Then I find the GCF out of just 2 at a time. So 4 and 2, 4 comma 2, that's 2, okay? And then I divide by 2, and that's going to be 2x minus 1. Okay, and then 4 and 6. And I can divide those by 2. GCF's 2. So that's 2x minus 3. So I go look at my GCF box. I didn't put anything here. If I do, I have to put a parentheses and put it down here. But I didn't. So I got F1, F2, and then the equals zeros here. All I'm doing is taking that and writing it in a different formation where I could solve it. So 2x minus 1 could equal 0, or 2x minus 3 could equal 0. So I dot my x's, both of them. I have minus 1, so I got to add 1. That's 1. If I take 0 and add 1, I'm at 1. Then I divide 2. And I take 1 divided by 2. That's a decimal. That's okay. 0.5. And then plus 3, and that's 3. 2 times x is 3, and then I divide by 2, and x equals 3 divided by 2. So 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. And those are my 2 answers. Okay. Next problem. We have 2 answers again because the x is to the second. Now, do I have an x that isn't to the second? Yes, I do right there. Okay. So it's set boxes. Okay, so we're set because the zero's there, so I go make my boxes then. And again, there's 3 terms. So it's GCF. And my table, again, same way as the last problem. Now, I didn't write fail, okay, so I will not be using this. I should find some 2 factors that make what I'm trying to do. So negative, don't need it. X, can't have it because you got X second, X first, and 20 doesn't have the X, so can't do it. X has to be, some kind of X has to be on all 3 of them. Usually if the last term, not the 0, but the last term has X, you'll need an X, but this one doesn't. So I've got 6, 23, and 20. Then I got 1 as my GCF, so 1 without a negative and an X means I get rid of it. Okay, so then I take positive, this one's a big one, positive 6 times positive 20, and I got positive 120. You got to be patient here. So that's an add, and we're trying to get to add 23, and 23 is negative. Don't you forget that. So 1 and 120, that's 121 when I add. Divide by 2, I get 60. 60 plus 2 is 62. 120 divided by 3 is 40. 40 plus 3 would be 43. 4 and 30, that's 34. So I can see I'm getting closer to 23. 120 divided by 5 is 24. Now again, if you don't know what it adds to in your head, just add the numbers on a calculator. 24 plus 5 is 29. It's got to be 23. 120 divided by 6 is 20. 20 plus 6 is 26. 120 divided by 7 is a decimal. Divide by 8, I get 15. Okay. And let's see what 15 plus 8 is, just to check for sure. Oh, 23. So I have my 2 numbers. 23 is negative, so my 15 is negative. And that positive up there means that the signs have to be the same. So they'd both be negative. Okay, now a is 6x to the second power, so I need to write that as, to start with, it's going to change, but I write that as 6x minus 8 and 6x minus 15. Once again, don't put the x to the second powers there. You're breaking the x second, so you have an x here and an x here. It's like you're distributing the x into both of these. So 6 and 8 is 2. So I divide these by 2. And that's 3x minus 4 when you divide both of those by 2. And then I see what I can divide. I'm going to divide 6 and 15 by, and I get 3. So it's 2x minus 5. Okay, I don't have anything here, so I put equals 0, and then F1, F2. Okay, so 3 times x minus 4 could equal 0, or 2 times x minus 5 can equal 0. So I dot and circle. So I plus 4, 0 plus 4 is 4, divide by 3, and 4 divided by 3, I get 1 and then a bunch of 3's. You can either put 1.33 or you can put 1.3 repeating, I don't care. And then plus 5, 0 plus 5 is 5, so 2 dot x equals 5, and then I divide by 2. And 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. And those are my 2 solutions. Okay, next problem. I'm actually going to go to this one down here. I'll come back to this one, but I want to do this one. X equals, there's 2 answers. And we also have that x in there that isn't to the second power, so I can't combine the x's, okay? So it's set boxes again. Okay, so we're set, and then I have three terms. So it'd be great GCF, and then my table. So the greatest common factor, negative, I don't have it. Now, do I have X on this third one? No, I don't, so I don't do that. And then 2, 13, and 24 is 1. Okay, so I don't need that. And I ABC the expression. And I take positive 2 times negative 24, and I got negative 48. Now, since I have a negative, now I'm going to minus the 13, which is negative. Okay, so 1 and 48, nope. 48 divided by 2 is 24. 24 minus 2 is not 13. 48 divided by 3 is 16. If I take 16 minus 3, that's 13, so it's these two. So 13 negative, so 16's negative. And we have a negative up there, so the signs can't be the same. They have to be the opposite, because a positive times a negative is a negative. Okay, so my A is 2x to the second. So when I break this up, I'm going to go 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 16, but then we need 2 more, okay? So 2 and 3. The GCF's 1, okay? So I divide by 1, which doesn't change it. It stays 2x plus 3. And then 2 and 16, the GCF here is 2. So I divide these by 2, and that's 1x minus 8. Okay, so this is F1, this is F2. So 2x plus 3 could equal 0, or 1x minus 8 could equal 0. So I dot my x's, I minus 3, and that's negative 3. When we take away from 0, then it becomes the negative. And then I divide by 2, and I take negative 3 divided by 2. Negative 1.5, that's your first answer. And the other one, we add 8. Now that will take you to 8 then. And if I divide by 1, I don't need to divide, so it's 8. Okay, then up here, you got 2 answers again. And you have this x here that isn't to the second. Okay, so it's not x squared equals x equals. It's set boxes. And you are set. You have 3 terms, so GCF table. Negative x GCF, so the negative, don't need it. This last number does not have x. And then I go 8, 14, and 3. And that's 1, okay? So again, so I take positive 8 times positive 3, and that's 24. Now 24, that's positive up there. So that is an add trying to get to 14, which is negative. 1 and 24, that's 25. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So 12 plus 2 is 14. So I have my negative on 12. Then I have a positive up there, so the signs have to be the same. So minus. Because you see, these have to multiply to a positive. They have to be the same sign. A is 8x to the second. So I go 8x minus 2, 8x minus 12, and then I find the GCF of those. So 8 and 2 is 2, and that becomes 4x minus 1, and then 8 and 12 is 4. So I divide by 4. That's 2x minus 3. Again, no GCF, so I put equals 0, and then F1, F2. Because I'm taking this that equals 0 and rewriting it as this. So 4x minus 1 equals 0. 2x minus 3 equals 0. Dot and circle. Plus 1. So 4 times x is 1, so then I divide by 4. And 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. Then plus 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. And then I divide 3 by 2 then. And x equals, if 2 times x equals 3, x equals 3 divided by 2, which is 1.5. Okay.